Hello, and welcome to 10 Very Big Books, a Malazan Read-Through podcast. My name is Peter Bond, and with me today is my friend and closest confidant, AJ Fileri.
Hello.
And rounding out the crew is Joshua Baker.
I am here.
We are here. India is not. Joshua, AJ, how are you doing on this fine day? We are cruising towards the end of The Crippled God. Book 4 over here.
I'm really enjoying that every single time I open the book, there is less left. And it's a very, not that I'm like, oh, I hate this book, but I'm very excited to be at the end.
It's exciting. I mean, it's been years, so...
It's been years, literally, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not only has it been thousands and thousands of pages and words, it's
so
just...
many words.
I was thinking about today, in the first episode of the show, Pete, you said how many words were in the entire series.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And we've read most of them, you know?
Nearly all of them.
That's crazy.
I'm going to say we're probably over the hump past 3 million, so...
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, who would have thought, you know? Not me. Beautiful day over here. My coworker cut my hair. That was fun.
Looks great.
Oh,
Thank you.
can't tell. You're in a hat. Oh God, that's long in the back though. We heading towards a mullet?
It's pretty evenly lengthed all the way around, Josh.
I can't tell. There's a hat. I can't
No,
tell.
I'm just telling you. I saw
I'm
it
not going to
earlier.
speak about mullets, because last time I said mullets were in fashion, AJ bullied me for being behind the
Mullets
times.
well, yeah. I hear that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say mullets. Mullets are in fashion, but I wouldn't say like mullets are like the moment, you know?
Yeah.
Which is what you were playing. You were like, mullets are back
AJ,
in a big
AJ.
way. And it was like, yeah, they've been back in for like 2 years. What are you talking about?
Okay, AJ, you're on the cutting edge. What is the moment?
Right now in this moment, I do have a dog and he is just chewing a really hard chew toy directly next to me. So if you hear odd chomping, bumping sounds, I'm sorry, dear listener.
So this year's hottest trend is your dog chewing on
My
mine.
dog
Yes,
chewing. Yeah,
yes.
that's it.
I've not seen the dog yet, and I'm feeling pretty left out that I've not seen Peter's hair or AJ's dog. Just saying.
All right, I'll pull this off. I'll take my hat off, and then AJ just lift the pup up into the frame.
Yeah, let me. Okay. Oh my God, Peter. No, it looks good. That's nice.
Pete just took out their whole ass.
That would not be even close to the first time Peter's taken out their whole ass in front of me.
I'll cut that out. I'll cut that out.
Yeah, Josh has seen my ass a lot, okay? And that's well documented.
I would say probably more than almost anybody.
Interesting. I don't know.
I'd
have to think
you'd
about
have
that.
To really think about it.
But I'd have to think about it. But
More than yourself, Josh? You've seen Pete's ass more than you've seen your own ass?
No, I'm saying I've seen Peter's ass more than anyone else has seen
I
Pete's
guess
ass.
to be fair, do you see your own ass that much?
I check myself out.
Yeah, every time I go to the bathroom,
Every time I
whip it
pass
out.
a mirror, I pop those cheeks in the front. All right, everybody. Today we are talking about Book 4, Fists of the World. That's right. We are talking about chapters 11, 12, and 13. So let's get into it.
Let's go. As the protagonist in the hit new movie, Super Mario Brothers movie.
A little movie you may have heard about, the Super Mario Brothers movie. However, I just want to say, I was actually a Mario fan before the movie came out. I feel like right now everyone's like Mario, 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 but I've been a Mario fan for a long time.
Do we have an exit from this bit? I can do a Waluigi impression.
Yeah, let's try. Let's try to do that.
Yeah. Wah!
Chapter 11. Spindle works outside Black Coral. The Tistandi have left the city. With the Bone Hunters, Banishar feels the bite of sobriety. The Bone Hunters take in more of this alien landscape, and Banishar notes that something has died here. Fistblistig uses his power to arrange for water to be siphoned away for him. His personal guards are sent to watch over it. Pors agrees to help, but does send note to Kindly. The commanders of the Bone Hunters discuss logistics around desert traversal, and they speak about the rumors around Tavor. and what it means to be a soldier and to feel. After the meeting, Kindly and Ruth and Gud speak more about this. Soldiers and feelings. Tar speaks with Bottle about the water situation. The name, the Bone Hunters, and the forces at play within the deck. Wittershin considers his fellow soldiers, Cinta recalls her youth, and Kisware falls unconscious because of an infection. Hellion, too, is sober, and her squad feels gratitude for her regardless. Herb thinks about the soldiers being called the Walking Dead. Saltlick thinks about Hierarchy, and Flashwit and Gaunt Eye talk about Skull Death. Hedge thinks on his past. Fiddler, the Bridge Burners, and the Walking Dead. Jastara thinks on her relationship to Gaul, and Shelamasa thinks about the situation herself. Henar Vygoff considers his youth, thinks about his father, and then speaks of Bryce and Aranik's relationship. He then talks with Astara about happy endings and the potential of having children. Banishar speaks to Devor about what he heard as a priest and what he hears now when he looks to the heavens and sees the jade spears. Fiddler then thinks about the Crippled God and Tavor, a Book of the Fallen, and what Whiskey Jack said to a child long ago. He thinks when they write the history of this time, the historians will be wrong, and that we are all the children of the Crippled God. AJ, we visit? Who's that? Knock, knock, knocking on your door? Spindle. We're expecting a Spindle cameo.
I wasn't, because I didn't remember Spindle existed. So there you go.
Okay, you're not the biggest Spindle head.
Well, I remember when Spindle was in the story being like, oh my God, Spindle is a character that I have feelings about. And then they were there when they were like, Spindle's here. Remember him? I was like,
yeah, but also
definitely a name I know.
Spindle was also a character we cared about for the last second to last chapter of Toll the Hounds when he was introduced.
No, he was longer than that, wasn't it?
Spindle's which is the one that's we're talking about the one that was a Malazan.
Yeah.
Spindle shows up and like forces Monkrat to redeem himself. That dude showed up out of nowhere and we had not seen him in fucking forever.
Right, but we had seen him.
You're correct. I'm just saying it's more than one chapter.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
It is more than one chapter. It's just deep into that
But we had seen Spindle before that, hadn't we?
I don't know. Book.
Yeah, we used in Memories of Ice and stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember that book. It's like he keeps dropping down on my lists at the end of these. I do not remember
Josh,
that
so
book.
Damn.
On the continent of Genabacchus, it's kind of following up from the story of Gardens of the Moon. And the Paninian Daman is kind of expanded out.
Wow.
And the Paninian Seer
I haven't heard you say that for 2 years. Can you believe?
I didn't miss it.
Anywho.
3 years?
Jesus. How did you feel about revisiting that setting and just briefly hearing about the Tistandi and kind of seeing that moment? Kind of just a snapshot in a way.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was nice. I don't know. I didn't have super big feelings about it. Just, at the end, he cried, and that was sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting what is happening. I'm not really 100% sure what's happening.
I was really interested to learn that the High Priestess, I couldn't remember if we knew that she survived or not, but it was a nice remembrance that she did. And that, I mean, from Spindle's perspective, it was interesting to hear that he thinks that she is worse off for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's hard. I don't know if she's worse off in my opinion, but I do hear Spindle's point of view, you know?
Yeah, I guess I just wish I remembered more about how I felt about Spindle into, because I remember, like, I mean, obviously I really liked all the Redeemer stuff and all the stuff around that with I can't even remember who else was in that storyline. I really liked that storyline.
Spinnock and
Spinnock Durav, that's what it was.
And then
and Icarium or Icovian, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, that stuff was great. But like, I'm so far away from those feelings that I'm like,
who was the Tisty Andy that hung out with them? Spinnock was the Tisty Andy.
Spinnock was the Tisty Andy.
Who was the other guy?
What's his name? He was in the Panyan Daman.
I can't think of his name.
Seer Daman.
Seer Daman.
His real name was revealed at the end of the book, but I don't remember what it was.
Well, I agree, AJ. I think the way I relate to that storyline is not through Spindle. So revisiting him is, I agree. My emotional connection to that part of the book was not about Spindle's return.
Yeah, it's like a secondary to a secondary.
Yeah,
in a way.
All right, let's jump over to the Bone Hunters, where the majority of this chapter takes place. Very Bone Hunters soldiers focused chapter. We're in the host, and that's right. We're starting with my guy Banashar.
Big stuff for Banashar today.
All right, look at me. Are we growing to love Banashar or what? Isn't he the best?
He's something.
Okay, what does that mean?
I think he's better than I thought he was, but he is sometimes insufferable. Dude loves his worms.
It loves the worms.
Yeah.
Josh, what did you make of this in him? And then also there's all this speaking about him kind of observing the land, and there is a lot of talk more about kind of the crystals and this area.
As I've been saying a lot recently, I'm sure in a reread, people are like, and here it is, the spot where Steve laid the seeds for that thing that happened in chapter 26. Because he talks about it to Bivadact. Did I say that wrong? I didn't say that right. Aranict.
Bivouac?
Aranict, that's what I meant to say.
Did you say bivouac?
I don't know, dude. Aranict talks about some stuff in one of the other chapters. There's a lot of history in the Wasteland that is coming to light much faster than it has for centuries or millennia even, and I'm really interested in it. No clue what it means. Loving it.
Well, let me ask you a follow-up question then about this whole ballistic storyline.
Yeah,
Josh,
I'm ready.
Well, what do you think? I know you've been grinding your teeth over ballistic so far.
It's really impressive how well Steve has moved Ballistic in one book from frustratingly incompetent to downright dangerous to the rest of this army, due to his selfishness and his inability or unwillingness to kind of like commit to the cause. And I despise him, as you're supposed to, and but I really love he's continuing this proud tradition all the way back to, that's right, folks, Corbelow Dom, people who have risen above their competence level and don't realize it. And I love that he goes to Pores and he's like, look, we both get it, all right? We're both just two dudes looking out for numero uno, all right? And it's all going to work out. And I love that the very next scene is Pores calling to Stumpy McGilligutty and being like, all right, well, fuck Blistig, please go report that he's essentially treasonous. Really good stuff.
Two thoughts in response to that, Josh. First, did you like the Pores bit? I think the Pores bit's so good.
The Pores bit has really a big ol' U-turn for Josh on Pores.
When he says like the cream doth rise to the top. That's a good line.
I've been pretty cold recently on Pores. I'm back, baby. All right. He's great. He's a big fucking dummy, but he, as far as I can tell, maybe he really is looking out for his fellow man, and that's great.
Later in chapter 13, with some of the gray stuff and gray swords and the parish and gray helms and the parish talking about nature, man, on war with nature. I think there's an interesting connection here to talking about this water crisis and hydration that the Bone Hunters face as being like man at war with nature in this literal sense of having to contend at this kind of final penultimate, I don't know, and like one of the final challenges that this army is facing is like this enemy of thirst in a sense. I find that kind of moving. Also, it really makes you not want to be in a desert dehydrated. Shit seems bad.
Yeah.
All right, AJ. So next, there's this big council scene. A lot gets talked about.
Yeah.
A lot of the commanders are having a big conversation. What stood out to you from it?
I think, and this might be a cop-out, just generally, the vibe from this council is like, not hostile, but it's like the most like, what the fuck is Tavor doing that we have like seen throughout the series, I think. And I mean, I think slowly been kind of building these feelings, obviously. But I think a lot of that comes to the head here. And like, this is the first time I feel like I also am like, what the fuck is Tavor doing? Like, unless her MO is to like make sure that everybody hates her by the end of this for some reason, because like they need to hate her so that like, whatever, you know, some cosmic reason or whatever. Like, I truly am just like, I'm along for the ride, but I am so lost, I think, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and where do you think you're getting lost? I'm curious to why this is the time.
Well, I'm just like lost of what her goals are. I thought we would be getting a little bit more clarity, but it doesn't really seem like we're there yet. And I feel like we're probably not going to get it until like the last chapter or something, when it's like, hi, I'm Tavor Baron, and this is what I've been up to for 3 million words.
When we get one flashback from her talking to somebody and being like, no, Tavor, don't do it. And she's like, it's the only way.
I must do this, and then this, and then this.
If I don't X, then Y won't Z.
Right, exactly. That's exactly where I'm at. And I'm like missing Y and Z, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, the X is like all the shitty stuff that her bone hunters are going
absolutely
through.
Ruin this army through terrible decisions on a strategic level, then what then though? What's the then?
Right. But like, it feels like it's on purpose, right? Like because every other decision she has made throughout this series, like, has a purpose and like has worked out, and everybody in the end is like, oh my gosh, wow, Tavor really knew what she was doing. Mm-hmm. And so like, this has to have a purpose. And I don't know if it's like she's trying to break everybody down until they're like finally ready to like, at the very end, all the bone hunters are gonna be like, we love the crippled god, and he's gonna start shooting like lasers out of his dick or something.
Right?
Like, you know.
Now, can you actually elaborate on that? How do you think the lasers come out of the dick?
So it's a magic thing, right? So there's a second urethra, and it actually switches.
Is that abnormal?
No, so I'm telling you, like, you know how you have a second urethra?
yeah, I know.
There's actually a third urethra.
Oh, whoa,
and that one's
3?
just for lasers. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
okay, wait. I have 3 urethra. Is that not the norm?
Peter,
it was funny when Josh tried to punch it up, but I think it can only do one punch up.
Yeah.
Okay, what the fuck is this? Okay.
Peter's just telling me how much they don't like ball busting humor, and so I've decided to just fully lean in.
I honestly don't, and now every time someone has ever said something kind of in light jest, I'm like, oh no, but as a joke, but also in my frail heart, I'm like, oh no, don't say that about.
No, Peter, it was good, and it is normal to have 3 if you can shoot the laser. That's the third.
I'm glad you like my joke, and I'm glad we're friends. Thank you.
I'm also glad we're friends, and I like making this show with you.
No, this is nice.
Oh, all right. Josh, were you have any sort of similar thing with the Tavor scene? Did you feel like you were kind of with them? Did you read it as in the same way AJ did?
I just really got caught up in the realism of this scene, you know, like
I was also really struck by they were talking pragmatic solutions, baby.
It was legit. Everyone they're talking about like how many days of low rations before there's mutiny, how many times can this happen before we, you know, this. I mean, I totally get why they're having that discussion, and I was really struck by, I know Ruthen Good was very for Tavor. What was it that really got Kindly though? Do you guys remember? Because I remember Kindly also really being on the Tavor train, but I can't remember what his reason was, and I found it really interesting, but I'm blanking on it right this
he says you can't ask soldiers to open their hearts, something like that. If they did, they would never take another life.
Well, I think that happens in the follow-up conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was just
when Kindly and God are kind of diving into Tabor's thing, which, Josh, I would love to hear your thoughts on about this whole, like, soldiers opening your hearts. Like, what does it mean for you to open your heart and feel something?
I think the conversation is really great. I mean, obviously, Kindly is not someone we've gotten into the head of for very long, and Ruth and Good's still a pretty new character, too, so nice seeing their points of view. And we know Kindly is known as being, we have learned through other officers that he is the way he is because he feels that soldiers need a target for their anger. And so it's really interesting to hear this conversation, Ruth and Good being like, maybe there's other ways to soldier. Maybe the fight can be less about being mad at the person in front of you and fighting for other reasons. I do get why they disagree on it. I would imagine hatred and obedience are pretty good at getting people to kill one another. So I understand why Kindly's like, why fix what ain't broken?
Yeah, I think there's a parallel to the conversations around the Sheikh and like motivating the Sheikhs to fight.
Just thinking that just had popped in my head.
Yeah. All right, AJ, we are turning to some of the other soldiers. There are a lot, and there's a lot going on. There's this whole conversation with Tar and Bottle. Did that speak to you? They're talking about water, and then there's the whole thing about like the piss drinker or something in the deck. I forget what the exact joke is.
Oh, it's so good. The whole scene with them being like, I wouldn't drink my piss, but a lady's piss?
Maybe.
I just thought it was so fucking dumb. I loved it.
Yeah. Honestly, I remember like going through this part and being like, wow, this is the first time I'm like really jiving with a lot of the soldier stuff. I'm loving what's happening. I'm loving all these conversations. And now, right now in this moment, you're like, hey, what did you like about this? I am like, oh, like I don't know what happens to me with these soldier scenes that I cannot hold on to any of it.
Yeah, listen, brother, I'm in huge agreement with you. I feel like there's several of these scenes stand out very big to me, but then I also feel like, you know, when it's like it's almost like it's just a really fast montage between all these soldiers, and some of them I feel like I only have one or two hooks into. So, you know, when like Salt Lick is talking, like, not to slam Salt Lick, or like Flashbit and Ghana, like they are talking about Skull Death, and I don't even have a huge connection to Skull Death. Do you know what I mean? So just some of those scenes I do feel like kind of wash over me, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I was gonna say, with this stuff, I thought it was really interesting that they were talking about the origins of the name the Bone Hunters.
Yeah,
because as we know, that came from Fiddler feeling that there was a need for this army to have something bringing them together. And so that was from Fid, and I think Cuddle helped out. And I thought it was really interesting that, like, oh, these people don't even know that it was a fabrication. Like, it was a thing purposefully created with intention. It didn't just happen.
It's kind of a story they told.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was really a cool thing to see, because, like, I see Tar and Bottle as, like, oh God, we didn't talk about it, but there was a chapter, I don't think it was this chapter, but there was a chapter where someone was like, I want to be part of the in crowd. What do I have to do to be part of the in crowd, you know, of the group?
Oh, I think that's
this chapter.
Is that this chapter?
Wittershins talks to...
Oh, you're right. That's so good. And to think about, like...
Because they're like, oh, there is an elite.
Yeah,
and he's like,
and to see like Tar and Bottle, who would undoubtedly at this point be part of the elite, you know, went through Yagatam and through all that stuff, to see them still be like, so, like, how did this happen? Like, I find that incredible and very realistic.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, their roles as, like, kind of being leaders, but also I think if someone were to be like, Fiddler, you're a major leader of the Bone Hunters, I don't think he would engage with that title in power and position, but I do think he does, like, wield his influence in a way to help other people and like towards response. Like, I don't think he's denying the sense of responsibility. I think he's like denying wielding that position, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I actually did like that bit with Cinter just like talking about Kisware and stuff, because I feel like for the most part we've gotten a lot of Kisware's thoughts and how Kisware feels about Cinter and how she's adapted into the military and all this stuff, but to see it from Cinter's POV being like, oh, my sister's so cool, she's so great, like she defected, but then she found it within herself to bring back Masangalani and the Burn Tears and stuff and whatever. I don't know, I just thought it was really nice and I liked seeing it.
It's a different point of view from the character, like on the character, than from being within it. So
yeah.
All right, there's a few other soldier conversations. I don't know. I'm looking down the rest. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, do you know what? I liked the Henar Vigolf scene.
Yeah, that was nice. Too bad he's gonna. Too bad he's gonna fucking beef it now. That's rule number one of stories where people die. Like you
see the flashback of their childhood.
You can't think about your cool dad. All right, cool dad's number one way you beef it. It's first grade stuff. I don't know how this guy didn't know.
I did really love in that bit when the echo of the thoughts he had as a child about the woman he would love, and then what he tells Lestara at the end is the same thing. Oh my god, that was like broke my heart, but like filled me with such joy.
Yeah,
it's really beautiful. It's
really
a beautiful little section.
Yeah.
I also think I have a transition, but I do want to say, did either you want to speak about the Justara Gaul stuff or the hedge bridge burner stuff?
I'll talk. My only thought on the Justara thing is I'm curious what is so important about the Kundral Burn Tears to the rest of the story, because I don't think you can imagine a better sunsetting point for them to not need any more POVs than most of them die, their leader goes into despair, and they sort of get absorbed into the Bone Hunters. So all I can imagine is there's got to be some reason that we're still seeing this, but a weird scene. I mean, good on Justara. No, sorry. Yeah, is that his wife? Or Shelamasa?
Shelamasa's his wife.
Good on Shelamasa for her attitude on life and younger people and, how others need us. Really, really incredible viewpoint considering her situation. Found it pretty weird that it was like that the others were all like, well, you got two options. We're either going to slut shame your daughter-in-law or we're going to call your husband a rapist, basically. So pick or choose. I hated that. I was like, look, grief's kind of complicated and these tribal traditions are complicated. We don't need to fucking be mean to each other.
Yeah. I think I would have rather have seen these scenes from Gaul's POV because he has been the one whose head we have been in.
I would like to know what has become of him.
I would rather, I think it's this like familial drama or whatever is like interesting, I suppose, but I think I'm more interested in how Gaul is feeling in this moment and the like how he's feeling about the choices he is making currently and why he is making these choices, but I think there's obviously a reason that it's being kept from us in this moment, so I guess I'll just vibe with it.
All right. Did we want to talk about the hedge and the bridge burner stuff? Because that did stand out to me a little bit. And just this repeating thing about The Walking Dead, the speech, and now it's being echoed here and kind of talking about a little bit more.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of silly in a way where he's like, oh, he gave the Walking Dead speech. Like, yeah, we all know that Walking Dead speech. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah, if you've ever played if you ever played Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2, in the first Mass Effect, there's a guy at a mission who gives this whole big speech, and he keeps coming back to like, no matter what, we hold the line, blah, 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 we hold the line, et cetera, et cetera. And then in Mass Effect 2, you meet a character who knows that guy, and he's like, oh, did he give like the whole hold the line speech? Like, yeah, he loves saying hold the line. I just think it's just like a very funny bit every time.
So you're saying Steve played Mass Effect?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
AJ, I absolutely loved hearing your opinions and thoughts about Mass Effect. Is there somewhere else I could like find out about that?
No, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, no worries about that.
I don't host another podcast called Asynchronous, a video game catch-up show, and you can't go follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at AsyncPod.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you don't.
Yeah.
More attention for us here at 10 Very Big Books.
And to be clear, the reason that they can't is because I was going to come up with an insult, but now I don't want to insult our readers, actually. Our listeners. They're pretty cool.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no, I did like this scene. I always like hearing Hedge's POV of being a person who is now back from the dead. He has this line. Good. The Tory read also pointed it out. He has this line. It was easier when I was dead. He could put me away on some shelf in his skull and leave me there. But now that he's talking about Fiddler's, feelings about Hedge coming back, and I just thought that was a really, I don't know. It's an interesting way to conceptualize grief, I guess. But I do think it brings a clearer light onto what it means for Hedge to be back. From Fiddler's POV, it's like, he was just on this shelf in his skull, and then all of a sudden he is back here in real life.
No. Well, I do want to touch on Fiddler himself, but I did want to point out, I think there's a cool connection between the happy endings kind of conversation around Hanar Vigolf, and I do think there's a connection to the Banishar stuff, because he's talking about, isn't someone talking about stories their mother told and that fixing the endings to fix them? And I just thought that was a kind of interesting element throughout this chapter, obviously relating to us as we are ending the series here.
You think our ending's going to be happy?
I have no comment. Josh, Fiddler, Fiddler's talking about a lot of stuff here.
He does talk about the prologue to Gardens of the Moon, which is funny.
A shout out to the prologue to Gardens of the Moon.
Yeah. Did you catch that, AJ?
Sorry, what? Sorry. The shout out to the prologue of Gardens of the Moon? I don't think so.
Yeah, Fiddler's like, one time me and Whiskey Jack were hanging out on this keep overlooking Mox Hold, and he talked to some kid. He was talking to Ganoes Perrin.
Yeah. Wow, that is the prologue of Gardens of the Moon.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Open and scene, baby.
Yeah.
Damn.
Really interesting, by the way. I just am so... I don't know how to feel about the Crippled God anymore, which is insane to me, because book fucking 6, 7, whichever one, House of Chains?
4.
Which one's 6? Bone Hunters, stop.
Yeah.
The Bone Hunters, Crippled God is like objectively the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, there is no two ways about it. He is the bad guy in that book. And to think we've gotten here and maybe he's cool, I don't get it. I have so many questions. I'm so curious. Can't wait.
Yeah, I don't know if it's cool, to be fair. I don't know if he's like a cool guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything. I have no idea.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I've had pretty complicated feelings about the Crippled God, I think, since post Bone Hunters. I think that's by design, right? Like, the way that he is painted is less so of this like fingered twiddling Mr. Burns-esque villain, and more so just like this poor guy who is just in so much pain. I feel like that's all I think about is whenever I think about the Crippled God after book 6. It's just like, man, he just hurts so bad, and I feel really bad about that.
Well, it's interesting to hear your guys' thoughts about it. And I really like this scene from Fiddler. I don't really have anything else to add to it. So I think we should thank everyone who generously backs us on Patreon.
It's just Axel.
Just Axel?
Yeah.
It's just Axel.
Here, let me play some Guns N' Roses.
No.
Nice.
Thank you so much to Axel, our singular new patron the last 2 weeks. If you want to join our Patreon, I'm sure that they love that. I'm sure they love...
I can do another one.
Yeah, I think the issue was the song, actually. Can you do a different song?
Wow, 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 ba 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 ba.
Is that your Waluigi?
No, it's Welcome to the Jungle, baby.
I thought you were doing it in your Waluigi.
Welcome to the Jungle, baby.
Nice. Thank you very much to Axel, and thank you to everybody else who supports us on Patreon, and thank you just generally for listening. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, it's patreon.com/10verybigbooks. We've got epigraphs episodes. We've got episodes where we talk about movies. We've got a couple of videos.
Also, if you want to support us another way, tell a friend about the show, leave a review. Thank you.
We always are also okay with personal compliments sent on Discord, so that's totally an acceptable way.
Josh, I thought you were going to say we accept personal checks.
No, I do. My name's Joshua Baker.
Also, we could take some direct money transfers.
Just wire
P.O.
transfer.
Box, my bank account.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and we appreciate your patronage, and we will get into it now, the next chapter. This is a good segue.
Chapter 12. The battle on the shore rages. Pithy observes Pulley and Squish helping the wounded. Pithy heads towards the command and notices the Eleosian looking identical to the Andy besides their skin. The Eleosian retreat into the breach after a push led by Pithy. Jan Tovis watches the aftermath of the battle. This was a test of their forces, and the real assault will come soon. She considers kneeling to this sacrifice of her soldiers, but she does want to stand with her people. With the Leosian, Forge considers if chaos has overtaken them, if the blood of the Elaine runs too thick. He considers the battle to come, the weakness of their opposition, and the Sheikh forces. Then Aperol Forge thinks about Father Light, and what his union with Mother Dark brought to this realm. The Leosian look forward to victory, taking Carcanis and putting Atisti Leosian on the throne. So they attack once again. Sandalith walks through the palace, thinking back to her childhood. She remembers Silchus Ruin and Alliance of the Defeated and battles of the past. Withel holds her throughout this and is able to pull her out of her memories. She awakes and wants to surrender the city to the Leosian, but they are sure Yed and Derek will not yield. She feels like she is being held hostage yet again. Yedin readies his people for battle. The Sheikh prepare, and the forces of Carcanis advance. Let's get ready to rumble, baby.
This is really brutal on the video call because the delay is just hell.
I want.
No, this is a different song.
We're Vengabussing now? Absolutely not.
The Vengaboys.
All right.
This chapter is icky.
Yes, to quote AJ earlier today in chat, today at 4:32 p.m., just casually eating leftover pizza while listening to the most brutal fucking battle descriptions.
Yeah.
It was really bad. That was toward the end when she lifts her spear through the guy's skull, and we talk about like the scraping of teeth against the blades of the spear. Really, really visceral stuff. Yeah. Really bad. Anyway.
All right, Josh, we're touching in the last time we see the battle has begun, and we see this. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. We need to start at the epigraph here, because it's.
Oh, I wanted to talk about the first epigraph too.
Yeah, the first epigraph is an excerpt from
Woodcutters.
No, that's the one for the. Oh, what did you want to talk about with the? Sorry, what did you want to talk about with the?
There was
Woodcutters
a whole thing,
is the one for the book.
And I think in that one, there's a whole thing about being gripped or closed, and the book is called Fist of the World. I just was making a connection to the title. What do you want to talk about here?
I just wanted to talk about here that it's an excerpt from Book 11, Throne, Scepter, Crown, which is very adjacent to Orb, Scepter, Throne.
Different, okay.
Different, definitely different, but it's still there. Anyway.
Yeah, I had the same thought.
Thank you.
Very curious.
Sorry. I'm not on the epigraph episode, so I want people to think I'm smart too.
AJ, do you know what you could do? You could read Orb, Scepter, Throne. Fun book.
Yeah.
See if there's a relation.
Okay, let's get into it. Josh, so visiting this battle, it's finally begun. What do you make of it? This first, like, test push by the Leosian.
What do I make of it? Number one, things I don't want to do in my life. Fight an army erupting from a portal on a beach that I think's made of little bones. But, like, even on a regular beach would suck ass. No, thank you. The worst place to fight, beach. That's Josh's take on that.
You think beach is tough fighting ground?
Yeah. I mean, I don't like the beach in general, but yeah. Other things, I guess. Pretty brutal battle descriptions, as we've said. Really enjoyed the inner monologue of Pithy being Pulley.
No, it's Pithy.
God damn it, there's too many of them. Really enjoyed Pithy sort of going from lost and confused to thrust into a position of leadership and having one success, and then like through sheer luck being saved from dying, and then getting the rush from that. Like, really interesting take. Normally in these combats, we are in the POV of like veteran fighters, and it's important to remember that like Pithy and Brevity, like the one time they fought was against some other prisoners, basically. And like in little things, like they felt like the sword felt clumsy in their hands. They didn't really feel comfortable swinging things around. Like it was really interesting and really showed in perspective that like these are their leaders. What hope do these guys have? But apparently pretty fucking good hopes based on the outcome of this chapter.
I want to hear what HA thinks in a sec, but I did just want to touch on something you said there, Josh, because although I complain sometimes about the number of soldiers growing and that there are all these soldiers who we only have I only have a light connection to, I do think that something is cool as like veteran soldiers like Fiddler or something are really highlighted. I do think the series does constantly portray that like every battle is someone's first battle, and it's like this kind of fundamental experience to them, or that there are people who are not at this, like, I don't know. It's showing that spectrum of experience, and I think that's what you reminded me of there. AJ, what stood out to you about this battle itself? Because before we kind of cut in to see the Leosians have.
I love that we're just right into it. I mean, we saw the beginnings of it in the last section, but the fact that we are now just in the midst of this full ass battle going on is just so good. I totally agree with what Josh said about Pithy's, and what you were saying as well about Pithy's POV being just like so cool, and such a great illustration of war in general, I suppose, with, you don't really know battle until you're really in battle kind of thing, but also just the state of the Sheikh kind of in general, being these people who, like, I don't know how long in book time it has been for them, but they've only recently been like, hey, we are this whole group of people now, and we're gonna have to go do this whole thing, and now they're all just thrown into this battle on the beach.
And to clarify, I want to make sure I'm getting the if you don't mind, Peter, some of these logistics correct. So the forces of good, we'll call them good. We have the Sheikh, who, as AJ just pointed out, are a pretty loose collection of peoples, and they definitely, a lot of them live together, but I do think some were kind of gathered along the way, like AJ was saying. But they're not the ones fighting first.
Correct.
First up are all of the prisoners and people from Lether who were on that island that that one Sheikh guy ruled. And
the ones who were with Twilight.
Yeah, the ones that
while she was still in the Lether army.
I don't think her troops came with her.
I thought they did.
I think what you're thinking of is Yedendereg has his elite soldiers that I believe are Sheikh and trained by the Lether. But I'm pretty sure Twilight left on her own. But so we have three forces, correct? We have the Lethers, who bore the brunt of the first attack, supported by the Watch, who are Yedendereg's elite. Then there's the Sheikh, who do the second attack and are led by Brevity. I think that's correct, right, Peter?
That's my understanding as well.
Okay, good. And I thought it was really interesting, not to keep stealing the talking time.
Please.
I thought it was really interesting that the Leosian were actually relieved after the first fight that there were no Sheikh there. And I do wonder if there's some mysterious shake bullshit where like when they're on the shore fighting Leosian, they all just get fucking yoked or something. Like I want to know if there's going to be some kind of supernatural stuff going into that.
Yeah.
I will say I do want to double check what you said, Josh. I'm not like the most confident in my answer, so I do want to double check it. But I think you're sound right to me.
I do think definitely the Lethri were the front lines because they described them. I remember them describing the first line of Lethari people being hoisted up onto spears as the Leosian come through the rent.
And from the Leosian POV, they talk about how like there weren't any Shake, they were just mercenaries. But I know that there are Shake in reserve. And yeah, because then later they say Pithy gets pulled out and she's standing with the Lethari who were part of the first attack, who are like eager to get back into the mix. Which like, first off, good on them. I can tell you 100% right now, if I'm in a fucking Mortal Kombat life or death fight and I get pulled out and I get told, take a breather, second line's coming in, I'm not standing back there like, put me back in, coach, I'm ready. I'm like, fuck this. How do I get out of here? So good on these Lether for finding their newfound bloodlust within them.
Yeah.
AJ cutting in to Lightfall, like through the wall, so to speak.
Yeah, cool stuff.
We're with the Leosian. We see a whole point of view. We haven't really seen them, I think maybe since that whole establishing chapter.
Yeah, since the very beginning when they're like, we actually hate Osric. We're doing our own thing and we suck. Yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah, so what did you think of returning to this and seeing a little bit more about where they're at?
I think it's interesting.
And their perspective on the battle.
Sure. I think it's interesting that everybody is aware that, like, okay, this was their first kind of poke to see what's up, to see if they can then send everybody to then have the dragon come through later.
Did you catch what the name of the first attackers was?
The Mane of Chaos? No, that was something else.
So the first attackers, I was very confused because from Pithy's point of view, she notices a young person and a super old person. And then the Leosian Aperol's like, I can see the remnants of the forlorn hope. And I'm like, were these like prisoners? And there was a woodcutter's axe, remember? They were like, why is there a woodcutter's axe? I'm curious if like this first group that went through is like literal prisoners or something who were like ill-equipped and were like literally sent in to die. Because why else would they be called the Forlorn Hope and have woodcutter's axes?
Interesting.
We do not know yet, but I'm very curious of that.
I didn't clock the woodcutter's axe being from their end, but that totally makes sense. Side note, I did love the Nith, never mind Nith or whatever his name is, whose hand gets chopped off, and then that's why Pithy gets put in charge, and she's like, "Where's Nith?" And they're like, "His hand got cut off. He's gonna go get it scabbed, and then he'll be right back."
And then he comes back and he's like, "You'll know it's my sword because my hand's still around it." Ha ha ha! Stab.
Yeah, and then he finds his sword with a full head impaled on it. Just absolutely.
No, that's later. That's Yedin Dereg.
That was Yedin Dereg?
Like, yeah, he's like, "Why is my sword so heavy?" Someone's like, "You have there's a head on it."
My mistake. I thought it was when I thought he was looking for his sword. But yeah, so back to the Leosian stuff. I thought this was interesting. Josh, I did not clock the name of those people, but that is also interesting. There's a lot of proper nouns being thrown around that I was barely touching on, but the Mane of Chaos comes up a few times, and it's something we haven't heard before in relation to the Elaint, or just the ability to, I guess they're Elaint here, not Soul Taken, right? Or they are Soul Taken and they call
are Soul Taken. They have the blood of the Elaint in them.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think the Mane of Chaos is just like that overwhelming feeling when you become a dragon and you're like, fuck, I could be a dragon forever.
Yeah.
Sick.
I love being a dragon.
Yeah, I thought that was very cool to have like a phrase for it and to see whoever this character was. I do not remember what character this was talking about, like, we shouldn't turn into dragons because then our people will, are we even Leosian anymore if we just keep turning into dragons? Like, we're just going to end up being dragons.
And a pretty big book 10 reveal to learn that Steve did read Animorphs. Really big reveal here with this whole plot line. Love it.
What's her name? KP Applegate? Was that the author? Something like that?
Dude,
I
wow, that's a pull.
Wow, I'm really surprised with myself. Thank you. I saying thank you to myself, I guess. I don't know.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank me and thank me.
Okay, wait. Potential bad news.
Have you not been recording?
I just Googled KP Applegate.
Not what it is.
It is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Hold on. Sorry. Sorry. Wait.
There
Nice.
we go. Sound
Nice.
effects are back.
I forgot about that.
Josh, in the castle, there's kind of a whole emotional
The
Sandalith
best
sequence.
scene ever.
With
Okay.
Queen Sandalith.
So
Tell me about it.
Twilight calls her Queen Sandalith. It's so good.
it's so good. Everything, the emotional vulnerability, the reluctance but acceptance of needing to kind of confront what you went through, learning so much more about what happened to the Andy who fled, to Sandalith, who we've never known how she ended up where she did. I mean, truly an incredible scene. I loved every bit of it, and makes me want to read Carcanis.
Ain't that the truth? AJ, did you have such a strong reaction as well?
Yeah, it's fucking ruled. I love this. I love Sandalith. I love learning about people's pasts. I hate learning that people were hostages or whatever. That sucks. But yeah, I like it. I am queen and I am hostage both. No one can take me until they decide to. It was good. It's good stuff. It's and
really
like all her
good.
inner thoughts are all, you know, that caliber of, you know, writing or whatever you want to say. It's just a great section of the book.
All right, I agree. The section absolutely rules. I have nothing to add to what you said. Before we kind of move away from this chapter, we do see Yedin, the Sheikh, and kind of this half kind of getting ready as the battle's going back into it. Josh, AJ, what do you think is going to happen next at this next stage of the battle?
Well, Josh has got me feeling really worried now because I think those first people, I was worried, first of all. I just have been worried because because they had said this first thing was just like a poke just to see what's up. But now that Josh is like, oh, maybe they were just like literally farmers and not warriors, it gets me really worried for when the actual warriors do come through.
Well, and to relieve those worries, the second force that gets repelled by the Sheikh and Brevity, those are actual soldiers, 100%.
Yeah.
And they are the ones that get repelled at the end of this chapter pretty handily. We don't see the aftermath, so obviously Yed and Derek's watch could have lost a whole bunch of people at this point, but we don't know that. But they did repel them.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I did love the bit when they were like, Yed and Derek fucking wrecked shit with that cool ass sword.
Yeah.
That's really, I loved it. I didn't need to see him fighting. If you just tell me he had a cool sword and he killed a lot of guys.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
And
he did. I know he did.
Dude, we're going to come back to Yed and Derek's sword in a second here. What do I think is going to happen? First off, Steve gave us the bait, all right? We have the bait.
The dragon?
He's given us two equally likely options, which means a third one has to happen, right? Option A, the dude who's just like, fuck, I love being a dragon. I want to be a dragon forever. He runs through, gets killed, closes the rift. Or the leader, that Appelar Forge is just like, you can't do it. You mustn't. And he's like, well, but I kind of want to. Ooh, I should be the first one in there, right? Neither of those can happen now because they got put into the universe. No, that's right, folks. Appelar Forge is going to be the one that turns into a dragon, and we're going to be very sad because he kind of seems like he's with it, and he's the one that's going to beef it and seal the Lightfall. That's my prediction.
Wow.
Well, I guess we'll see.
But pause. Did we know that the Hust swords specifically are meant to kill the Elaine?
No.
B, pretty fucking thematic that the only two Elaine POVs we have now have between the two of them 3 Hust swords, meaning they now officially have the ability to kill one another. Silchus Ruin, and I always forget Udanas' child's name.
Rudalal?
Rudalal.
They only have one.
They have 3. Silchus Ruin Silchus Ruin doesn't carry Hust swords. You're right.
Yeah.
But there is now a Hust sword between them.
Yeah.
That allows them officially to kill one another.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I want that to be out there now that we know that Hust swords kill Dargans real good.
Dargans.
My favorite game is Dargans and Doongans.
Yeah.
In French,
right.
it's actually Don Johns and Dragons, which I think is really good.
I'm a huge Joseph
Wait.
Gordon-Levitt fan.
Stop. Wait, is it really Don John's?
Don Johns. Yeah.
Is that why there's that really fucking incredible website, Don John's, that like is so many useful RPG and D&D things?
Maybe. Is it like donjohns.fr? Is it a French website?
Oh my god, it's donjon.bin.sh.
Josh, was the website in French and you didn't notice the whole time?
It's not in French. Let me make sure my Google
Josh.
isn't translating it. No, Google's not
Josh,
translating it.
Are you hearing what I'm saying to you in French?
Josh, can you speak French?
S'il vous plaît? Voulez-vous fromage? I don't know any French.
I've never studied French.
I got removed from 8th grade French class.
What? I'm sorry.
Was it because you were protesting the whole French fries, freedom fries thing at the time?
You caught me. You caught me. That's 100% why.
Josh,
2008?
thank you for taking a stand.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to chapter 13.
Jesus. I do just want to say, we didn't actually bring up in the show the part where Fiddler says the phrase, the Malazan Book of the Fallen. So I just
He doesn't say the Malazan. He just says
No,
Book
he
of the Fallen.
he literally says Malazan Book of the Fallen.
No, he does not. He just says the Book of the Fallen.
In that Malazan Book of the Fallen, the historians will write of our suffering.
Let me see the version of book you have. Oh, that cover's wrong. Ooh, are you reading?
AJ, I think you're reading the French
AJ,
copy,
did you-
actually. I think that's the
get that?
French edition of the book.
Yeah. You bought that.
Don't the French versions have like really good covers or something? Isn't that a thing?
Not as good as Japanese
a
ones.
lot of the European language editions have really cool covers. And I think the Mark Simonti ones are the French edition. I think you're correct.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and read the next thing.
Wait, Josh, are we not going to talk about the Book of the Fallen thing?
It's Dust of Dreams. He did it, folks. Told
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up. It didn't have to be on the show, but I guess now it is.
It is on the show for sure.
Is the cover? Is this Yedin Derrig? Is this Lightfall? Is that a dragon coming through?
Oh, is it?
There's a dragon coming through for sure.
I have no comment, Josh.
Yeah.
I've never looked at I've never paid attention to the covers. Chapter 13. The Letheri march and are catching up to the Volcando. Erinict and Brice bring up the rear of the army and welcome 3 strangers to the army. They struggle to communicate, but one of them is called Faint. Faint speaks to the ghost of sweetest sufferance about the Letheri, their similarity to the Malazans, and whether Precious will be able to communicate with them. Erinict uses magic to speak with Precious Thimble, and they discuss the wasteland, their situation, and Precious warns them the Malazans will betray them. Erinict then speaks with Brice about this conversation. Spax and Spalutha have sex before Spax meets with Abrastal. They speak with an apparition of Falash about Ontos Falak and preparing to face the Forkula Sail. After Falash disappears, Abrastal tells Spax to... How the fuck is Peter not going to mention that Hood's there? Abrastal tells Spax to warn the Letheri, but they don't think they will tell the parish. They don't think they can trust Tenacalion. At the end, they both agree they have faith in Tavor. Krugava reflects on what has happened with both Tavor and Tenacalion, and wonders about what to do next. Gessler's also considering what to do next. Bent and Roach remind him of Aaron Way, and his promise to die for that dog that saved him. He speaks with Caliph about the different armies, and agree they can't do anything about the parish, but believe Brice leads the other. Gessler and Caliph see a vision of Krugava headed into the desert, and they go to tell Stormy about it.
All right, so languages. Speaking of learning French, am I right?
Yeah.
Have you ever struggled to communicate with Trigald Trade Guild members. Kind of a big plot point. Sometimes I feel like the languages of all is kind of just glossed over.
Yeah.
And I do feel like languages are at least talked about sometimes, and that the idea that everyone has these different languages. And it is interesting that they have a whole knot here that's just about communicating, and it does kind of create an interesting problem for them to solve that relates to Holtz, and you know what I mean.
I really like that it's not been talked about since like book 4. I love the nod to previous discussions about how the Letheri are really working off an absolutely bastardized version of everything they know. The Holds, are obviously the one that most relates to what we talk about, but like the fact that the Letheri are using a version of the First Empire language that is so absolutely terrible compared to and versus like she's like, oh, so Precious Thimble's talking like a noble, and Precious Thimble's like, no, you're just talking like a fucking idiot, like nothing I'm doing. I loved it so much.
Yeah, all right, so let's touch in with some of this. Well, before I actually do, let me ask you guys this. These 3 chapters, boom, 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 we're kind of visiting, I would say, the kind of 3 different sections of the story that we keep cycling between. How do you feel about those 3 different segments? Do you feel like you look forward to some more than others? How do you think about these people, comparing with them? I'm just a little curious about, because I somewhat see, these are, I feel like somewhat representative. So we've frequently cycled between these different casts.
Yeah.
AJ?
Definitely. I've also noticed this kind of consolidation of storylines, I would say, in terms of the rest of the series. Is there one that I look forward to more? I love the Shake stuff, and so I think that's my answer. And I think the one I probably look forward to the least is all of the Bone Hunter soldier stuff.
Interesting.
Even though, like I said, in the moment reading the sections, I'm like, this rules. I love being around these people. After the fact, it's all just gone out of my brain. I think that's the only reason I'm not a huge fan of those bits, is just because I can't grasp onto the things I feel like I should be grasping onto. And they just feel like things that on a second read, I would be able to tune more into, because I would know, the broad strokes of where everything is going, so I could concentrate on the smaller things. I think is probably where I end up. But
And Josh, what about you?
I think these 3 sections, I really have enjoyed everything. And I would push back, Peter, and say you've forgotten about a key thing that we keep switching into in this book, which is people in place being horrendously depressed. Period. How relate?
Josh,
unclear.
Josh, I would say that is a pillar of the Malazan Book of the Fall.
Yes. So like when you're like, Josh, how do you feel about, there's so many people here and they're doing so many things. It's like, I'll fucking take that over the centuries. They weigh on my conscience.
Right. I'm the total opposite, Josh. I would so much rather someone be upset for 10 pages.
Every tool scene I burn through so fast. I cannot.
Right. Maybe that's why book 5 is my favorite book.
Probably.
Pillar of the Book of the Fallen, sad guy feeling lonely. Pillar of the Book of the Fallen, soldiers busting each other's balls.
Yeah.
Pillar of the Malazan Book of the Fallen, 2 friends going somewhere.
2 friends, big 2 friends.
Pillar of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. Oh, wait, what's that? I showed up somewhere, some sort of weird magical energy said something or gave me a cryptic message, and we're unclear about what it means, where we are, or who said it.
Yeah. Or a jade hand burst out of my entire body and ruined my life.
Pillar of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. You meet a new person and they die at the end of that page.
Ah, that's a classic.
Yeah.
Pillar of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. There's like 5-paragraph intro before we learn the character's name.
God, that one's big. Fuck.
AJ, we touch in with Erenict and Bryce, and then later in the chapter, we see what's going on with the Balkando forces, and we're kind of seeing these various armies that are in addition to the Bone Hunters. What is your read on the state of these different forces? Because they are really in a different status than the Bone Hunters and all those soldiers' POVs that we kind of cycle between.
Yeah, I think as much as it feels like the Bone Hunters are like playing catch up with whatever Tavor's plans are, it feels like these other armies are like playing catch up with like where even the fuck they are. Like what is even happening? You know what I mean? in some ways.
Josh, what's your read on the state of these armies?
I would say we're on a knife's edge for the most part here. I think so much of these armies' success is going to rely upon just the strength of their commanders in a lot of ways. Tavor's strength and ability to keep her various people below her able to sustain their pace, able to make it through this really torturous environment without like fully abandoning hope. It's up to Stormy and Gessler to kind of wrangle 4 armies together and probably realistically be the main like bulk of the forces that are fighting. And I don't really know how they're going to manage to do that. It's going to be a lot of just logistical issues. And then the fucking Greyhelms, the Parish, are like the giant question mark on everyone's mind, because are they an ally? Are they a liability? Unclear. I think it's really a bad time strategically for everybody.
Interesting.
Do we think that Tisty Andy left Black Coral to go back to Carcanis and they're going to show up and help the Sheik, and that's going to break the cycle of the Sheik killing themselves for the Tisty Andy and the Tisty Andy not being involved? But like these Tisty Andy are going to come back and they're going to break that cycle by like fighting side by side with the Sheik and accepting them.
They're going to show up, be like, "What's up, Sandalith?" And she's going to be like, "Please help."
It's time to shake and bake, and then right through the Lightfall.
Yeah,
I assume. I threw magnets across the room.
I was going to say, I heard a thunk. I
threw a set of magnets.
I don't get it. I feel like you saying shake it off, just the shake, and then you said and bake, and that's not a part of that.
No.
What is that?
Well, I said shake and bake a la Talladega Nights, the Bow to Ricky Bobby.
But that's
Shake
not how
and
they
bake.
say
shake
it in the movie.
and bake. They do.
Yeah, shake and bake. There's a pause.
You did a double clap.
For emphasis.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to come out and say it. Too many people in this book. There's too many people. There's too many groups. We're in too many places. And I think I'm having a hard time keeping all the threads in my hand. I really am floundering toward the middle section of this book. And we need to all meet up. We all need to meet up so that we can.
Hey, can we actually link up? Can we link up soon?
Can we link up?
And AJ, can I remind you that in addition to all these armies and all these people in there, there is also a girl possibly leading an army of wolves and all of the Talani Mass.
Well, see, that one I get.
Including the 2 that left, and we have to remember them, and Olar Ethelyn gang.
Yeah, Josh, I got to tell you, those groups of people, I totally understand what's happening with them. I totally get that, because it's like, here's 4 dudes, and then here's a girl and 1,000 wolves, whatever. Like I can kind of keep my hand on that. But the people we learned about 500 plus 1,400 pages ago, I'm like, man, I wish that I had a firmer grasp of what is happening.
No, that's fair.
I hear what you're saying. There are a lot of characters introduced in these books. One could say too many, but the thing is this: what if you didn't meet Ulog Tugtil? Do you know what I mean? Could you imagine?
I can't imagine my life would be
meeting
so
Ulog
different.
Tugtil. You know?
Yeah.
And Peter, if I were to ask what Tulog Ugthil's identifying feature is, can you tell me what it is?
It's that tug, baby. It's that tugboat he's pulling around.
I'm just gonna tug till I'm tired.
Fucking tugboat he drags everywhere. All right. I assume you mean his ass.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although we do get some balls.
He's graduated
talk in
from
here.
dump truck to towboat. Is that what we're
Tugboat, yeah.
Tugboat, yeah.
We do get some balls talking here somewhere.
All right.
I don't know
As
if we've
Josh
already
noticed,
passed that
I
part of
didn't
it.
really care that much about the Hood, Spax, about Abrastal Felash conversations.
Why? Why didn't you care about that?
Peter,
I'm allowed to have my feelings. Okay,
Shirkalal shows up in a different storyline.
I did like the description of the crystal. That's cool.
with a diamond in her head? What's
Yeah,
up
that's
with that?
Well, she's had that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
She's
right.
had that for
I
a
forgot
while.
About that.
Yeah.
Wow. I fully forgot that is a part of her whole identity. That's
Yeah, dude.
crazy.
Yeah. She straight up Diablo 2.
Okay, AJ, so
diamond
why
in
do
the
you
head.
care about it and you think I'm a dumbass or whatever you just said with your eyes?
Because like I said, there's too many threads and I would like them all to come together, please. And here we are. Here's some threads coming together. I think Hood is cool. I like Hood being like a character. I think that's very fun that he is just in the story now. And I like these characters. I think having these characters together is fun. I think the Spax stuff, I don't know if I'm just misremembering Spax or if I wasn't really paying attention when Spax was talking before. I feel like Spax has so much personality in this section that I feel like in the last book I was not keyed into for some reason.
I've got to say, I've really come around on Spax.
I think he's great.
I'm a Spax apologist. I'll say it.
Yeah, I mean, he seems pretty unproblematic, right? I like his relationship with Aranict.
Are we talking about the same person?
Yeah,
Spax's relationship with Aranict?
No, not Aranict. Fucking what's her name?
Oh, the queen.
The queen.
Brastel.
Yeah.
Iris.
Brastel. Thank you.
I mean, the relationship is like he fucked her daughter 5 feet away from her, and that's not like the greatest scene. Is that the relationship?
No.
Wow. Pretty sex negative, Josh.
No,
Bad luck on the show.
Hey,
Bad luck on the show.
This show is sex positive. I'm just saying, do you think a parent typically wants to hear that? And he knows she can hear it.
Well, they have a whole conversation about it. Obviously, he knows she can hear it.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that's what I'm saying. Like moments like that where he's talking to Brastel about these things. Like I feel like this was not the Spax who was in Dust of Dreams, who was just like Brastel was like, Spax, go tell whoever this thing, and he was like, yes, okay. Or he was like kind of skeptical about what was going on. But I feel like here he is a fully realized person, you know. And I don't know if that's just me not remembering stuff from the last book or what, but
there's a lot more Spax stuff in this book. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't think you're making this up.
Yeah. Thank you.
It is. I also think it's interesting. I do think it's interesting in the scene when they talk about their commanders and their points of view on their commanders. Like Josh said, the commanders here are obviously different than Tavor, and Tavor's management style is really being put on display in the Bone Hunter storyline. Josh, we check in with Krugava, and let me just ask you this simple question: would you kill Tenakalian?
Mm-hmm.
Am I me or am I Krugava?
Well, you can answer both.
I 100% agree with Krugaga's reasoning from her point of view. At the same time, I would love Tenakalian to be dead right now. Oh, that would go down so nice. Cold glass of water, dead Tenakalian. Oh.
Josh, a glass of water being the chaser is really funny.
What? Okay, watches a man get murdered in front of him. Someone hands him an ice cold glass of water, downs it,
cracks open a liquid death.
It sounds. Oh, dude, I've gotten so fucking into liquid death. It's a real problem.
Is that true?
They're too expensive, man.
They are too expensive. Good. But hey, they're easier to recycle than plastic.
Yeah, you can also drink tap water. Crazy.
Pete, not everywhere has potable tap water.
Okay, I hear you.
Pretty classist of you.
Wow.
Okay,
pretty classist. I would love to spend. You should try spending $11 for a can of water. That's much less classist.
That's right.
Yeah. Get those bourgeoisie attitudes about tap water out of here, Peter.
Buy upscale canned water. All right, AJ, the last scene of this book is with Gessler, and it's there's the stuff where he's reflecting on Ben Roach is cool. I think it's really cool, and he talks to Kalith about her past.
Yeah.
And then also they kind of notice Krugava. So I'm interested to hear what you think they might be doing. But first, did you have any thoughts about their talks about the dogs and about the Kalith stuff?
Yeah, I loved all of him seeing himself in Bent and stuff and all the stuff that they've been through. I just thought that was a deeper moment out of Gessler than we have ever gotten of him dealing with feelings, having feelings, not just busting Stormy's balls. just talking to the dog in the way that a person talks to a dog. Like, we've seen a lot, haven't we? All that gray on our muscles. Like, that's how people talk to dogs when they're just like hanging out with no one around and it's just a dog. I don't know. It just felt very real and very grounded, which is fun coming from a character that is like God adjacent.
On that note, I did mention to Josh on a recent Epigraphs episode, the animals as people, animal rights, like talking about that, the animal aspect is really a strong note that's hitting this time through this book. And there's some line related to this earlier there. It's like dogs are like born as like slaves in chains, or something very intense. I don't have the exact quote.
What's his name? It's when who's with Lestara? Is it Hannett Orr? Is that his name?
Hygar Varn. Hinard Var.
Yeah.
Henar Vigol.
Henar Vigol is talking about
dogs. Dogs are bred to be four-legged slaves. Ever seen a wolf smile? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, but right before that,
those
his dad
animals are wild. Yeah. They have lived in utter freedom. So see one you like.
Yeah, and then that leads into the dogs line. That's an interesting parallel. I didn't even draw that, but I do think that is interesting. And then they see Krukava. It's pretty interesting.
So what y'all think they're gonna do?
Man, I don't know.
I'm so tired, Peter.
Everyone's tired on the call. No predictions today. All right. Well, I asked you this question before, but I will ask you a modification of it now. AJ, what storyline are you excited to follow up on in the next book?
I am really curious about what the snake's up to. I want to know what Badal's doing. I want to know what we're doing with Held, who is used to be Womb or whatever. I'm curious about that stuff. I think every time we come back there, I'm like, ooh, what's happening next? But I think the one that I'm like really keyed into is Tool's whole thing. I think Tools is really interesting from a literal and metaphorical figurative lens as well, because he is obviously dealing with a lot. And I like that. I love a sad old person. So the Tool stuff, I think, will be my final answer for that.
All right, Josh.
Light, fall, light, fall, light, fall, light. I'm excited for light fall.
I can't believe we've been Vengabus.
Oh.
All right, everyone. That'll do it for us today. Let us know what you think of the show at 10 Very Big Books on Twitter, at Gmail. And don't forget, we have the Malazan Stream of the Fallen coming up this summer, July 22nd.
Woo!
We are playing games, answering your questions. We're going to be talking about all about the series, but please join us. We'd really love to have you. We're going to stream for about 10 hours or so. Going to be a blast.
And if you want to see the real raunchy stuff, stick around for the 11th hour.
You can subscribe. Yeah.
Okay, AJ, 10 is already way too long to be on stream. We cannot promise more.
Yeah, where do all our inhibitions go after we've been streaming for 10 hours? I'm feeling pretty crazy right now.
All right,
I'd do anything for an
hour.
Is there like an OnlyFans punt we can do here with Malazan?
Okay.
You can see our OnlyZans and the real stuff.
Okay, I think OnlyZans is a bad brand for us, Josh. Okay, bad branding, my official opinion.
I can't think of anything else that ends in ants.
Daruchistan?
Oh.
1999's Ants.
Okay, thank you. I'll say come. You say passion. Come.
Passion.
Go Birds.
I'll say come. You say passion.
Have you?
I'm happy.
And for posterity, AJ, I really need to know. Did you edit last episode yet?
AJ
I have not
edited it yet.
I have not, but I will just be taking the sync track I have and popping that in those moments.
Okay, because I was like, does it actually show up on my recording? I don't think it does. I think you just have to go off me being like, yeah.
And then just complete silence. And
like
I have to guess the
sound. We got done, and that was my only thought. Because then I was like, wait a minute. I don't think my computer audio goes in. Because then they would know how often I watch YouTube videos when I shouldn't be. And so then I was like, wait a
You
minute, then it
watch
definitely didn't get
YouTube
caught.
videos?
Can't prove
You
it.
Fucking man.
scoundrel. Leave the show,
Wait,
Josh.
this is my
Can't prove
favorite
it.
one. This is my favorite one. It's just a single duck
here,
quack.
and actually, here I'll give you a noise you can use for that. Whack.
No, thank
Sorry,
you.
no, it was too high. It was too high.